Welcome back to Sports Scope on Alive News. Well, it's been a busy period in Nigerian football with the Super Falcons taking center stage right there. The conversations from the Super Falcons has been taking center stage, and they'll be looking at the latest developments around the team and, of course, the sad exit of the Super Falcons, the Super Falcons coach being asked to exit his position with immediate effects. Well, to discuss this and what lies ahead for the Falcons, and I'm going to be joined now by a sports journalist, Obayemi Joy, who is very much invested in women's football and has covered the WAFCON like I mentioned earlier. Well, Joy, thank you for joining us on the show. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very loud and clear, Amara. It's great to join you on your screen today. You have been doing an amazing work, incredible job. Well done.
It's good to have you on the show too. I am delighted to have you here with me today. I wouldn't want to take much of your time. It's been a lot of conversations are to be had, so I would love us to dive right into it. But like I said, I am glad to have you on the show today. Let's dive right into it now. It's been a crazy time in football. It's been especially in Nigerian football, it's been a lot of conversations, so many, I would like to say chaotic time. Let's start with the Super Falcons. You covered the 2025 WAFCON. We covered the 2025 WAFCON together, and we saw how that turned out. Now, this 2026 WAFCON, how would you assess? I mean, it's sad that the Super Falcons did not get the WAFCON, their WAFCON title defense. The 2027 Women's World Cup is all for the team. How would you assess the Super Falcons' performance in WAFCON?
Well, Amara, it has been a very sad moment for us, as journalists who enjoy, being on ground to cover major sporting events as well as Nigerians. There's nothing much to say about, the Super Falcons other than, keep repeating on the fact that our girls were not properly prepared for this tournament. We saw it coming. It was just a matter of time for things, to be exposed on a world stage as the WAFCON. The girls during the FIFA World Cup, opened windows for friendlies. None, were taken advantage of. And so, yeah, I saw them during one of the only one friendly they played in Abeokuta against Senegal. It
Yes.
was really, really tough to watch them play because there was no synergy among the girls. There was no cohesion between them. You could see that the girls were rusty playing together. These are girls who ply their trade in most of them in Europe. They play with professionals. They play with on a good facilities. But coming back home, mixing starting up with new players again before you find your rhythm, it takes a long time. You don't do that when it's competition time. You take advantages of those windows, play your friendlies, get to know each other very well, know who is your point man, know who is your starting 11, not only when you get on the field of play before you start selecting and all of that. So we had selection problem from our coach because most of them were playing at the very first time, so it's a bit difficult for them to blend. And every time we're seeing different players being called up on the pitch to play. From the first game against Malawi, we have different set of players playing during this tournament, so it was
True.
difficult for them to blend. There's no way they could have churned. It would have been a miracle, to be honest, if the Super Falcon had gone ahead to win this WAFCON.
I really like how you analyze this. It's really sad, with how this turned out, the whole preparation. And I like that you touched about the friendly against Senegal. Look at the Malawi team, the Malawi teams that made it to the final. We saw that
Yeah.
Malawi had nine friendly matches, going through
Yes.
this tournament, and we saw how they performed. And like you said, Nigeria had the only friendly against Senegal, which was even played at home. And it was really, really sad that the campaign that started with excitement, we saw the Super Falcons going to defend their title. Conversations are now, going haywire. And And that brings us to the second thing I want us to talk about. From that WAFCON now, we've seen the fruit that it has brought. We've said that the Super Falcons coach, who is Justin Madugo, that led the Super Falcons to the WAFCON, has been asked to step down. I'm sure you've seen that. It's been all over the news, It's been a major conversation. I would like us to talk about that. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that was the right, decision the Nigerian Football Federation should have took right now? Telling
Yeah,
Coach
I,
Justin
I
Madugu to
think
step down.
Amara, I think we saw this coming, to be honest, for Justin Madugu, because this campaign, this tournament was not just only to defend a title, it was also to qualify for the World Cup. Looking at the fact that our boys, the Super Eagles did not qualify. So now every eyes were on the Super Falcons. So we already knew if Justin Madugu does not deliver the World Cup ticket, he was going to leave. It was just going to be a matter of time. He's the victim of a failed system that refused to prepare early for this tournament. This tournament was bigger than the 10th title we won last year. But we fail to understand that with lack of preparation, we always have to put the blame on one person. And it's so bad that Justin Madugu, we have to suffer for this, or had to suffer for this, because, of course, if the team does well, he gets the accolades. If they don't do well, he also gets, the bad review. So, yeah, for him being called up to step aside with his entire crew, I think it's not a bad. It's not bad, but it's just that we don't like treating the root cause of any of our problem. This has been a case where we have seen coaches being fired and hired, refired and hired again for any of our national team. Our under 17 also suffered the same fate. Remember when Ladamboso was in charge of under 20? We went to the Wafubi. We didn't
Yes,
do so
true.
well. We went to under 20 African Games in Ghana. We also didn't do well. Ladamboso was also asked to step aside. So at this point, it is a structural thing. It's not matter of a talent, or we don't have the players, we don't have the raw talent, or even the refined talent. We have,
True.
but when the structure is bad, there's nothing anybody can do. If they like, let them go and bring Jose Mourinho, add it with Pep Guardiola. We will still fail if we refuse to prepare for any major tournament. But for me, somebody has to take the fall. And it's unfortunate that Justin Madugu had to pay the highest price for this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It is really sad that Coach Justin Madugu has to leave his position, and we hope to see how that turns out. But now we've seen that Coach Justin Madugu has been let go. I mean, from what you said now, it is not totally a bad decision to take. Based on what is on ground and how the whole conversation is about building the team. But now they've let Coach Justin Madugu go. I would love to ask you, getting a new coach for the Super Falcons. We saw how the Super Eagles team, we let Jose Pesero going in, the whole conversations around coaching, the whole issues that were faced before we got to get Eric Shell, who,
Eric
despite
Shell.
not qualifying the team for the World Cup, but he's still making waves in the team. He's still, putting in structures into the team. What do you think the NFF should be looking, for when they want to get a new Super Falcons coach? And do you have any coach in mind that you think that this particular coach should be, do you have any coach in mind that you think this particular coach, right now should be the next person that should handle the Super Falcons team?
Amara, at this point, first the NFF board need to resign honorably. They need to leave first. I know this committee they are setting up, to come and find what went wrong. How are you setting up a committee to come and checkmate what you did wrong?
The fact-finding
Absolute
committee.
rubbish. As far as I'm concerned, yes. That's even at this point, what we should be looking at is this board, this particular set of NFF leaders need to go. We need to get new people who have footballing mindsets, who have the interest of seeing Nigeria move forward to the next level. We need to set that straight first before we start looking for a coach. Now, the Super Falcons will not be engaging in any activities for maybe till maybe in the next FIFA windows. But for now, there's no competition they are going for. WAFCON, there's no WAFCON next year. There's no World Cup next year. So we have enough time to build. We have enough time to prepare. We have enough time to search and get the best. We have someone before who has coached these Falcons, a home-based player, Florence Omagbemi. This is somebody that we can still look into her credibility and her workforce to see how can she, if not the head coach, but at least maybe bring her on board as one of the technical staffs or one of the people that be behind the scene to make some changes that would see a positive result. But for now, the NFF board needs to step aside first. Let us deal with the root cause. We have a bigger problem other than looking for a coach now. Now is the time for structure. We need people that have vision. We need people that will put the Super Falcons and the Super Eagles in forefront. Preparation before any tournament, scouting players, and also getting the right facility. We do not have facilities. Because, Amara, if you like at this point, if you train a player with good facility and you bring them to come and play on a bad pitch, it will show. It will show. We lost one of our best players during the AFCON in qualifier, during the World Cup qualifier to South Africa when we played in Bloemfontein in South Africa. I'm talking about what is his name?
Olaina,
because the pitch was so bad. So in Nigeria, we do not even have a top tier facility to even train, to even develop, these girls or these boys. So when they go to play in their clubs, they're playing in very good and standard facility. But they come back here, there's nothing to sharpen their skills or to continue in that trajectory of excellence. So at the end of the day, their outcome is judged based on individual brilliance or where they are coming, but remember where they are playing at. So we need to get it right. Let's get our infrastructure right. Let's get the right people handling the right job. But NFF at this point, the fact finding whatever they want to find, the first thing that they should find is that let the people that are there that have set them up, let them excuse us for a minute. Let's get it right.
Oh, that is well said from you. Talking about getting it right, I just saw a news update. The EFCC and the ICPC are reportedly probing the 12 billion naira the NFF were given to, for players management and all of that. And this takes us back to what you said on the pitch. If we have 12 billion naira given to check the welfare of the players and putting things into the national team to make sure that things are being put into place, and we don't have good teams. We don't have good field. We don't have good pitch of play. Sometimes, if you notice during the Senegal game, some of the Super Falcons players posted on their social media players. Some said they didn't like the pitch. And that takes us to these conversations we're having on the NFF. And we hope to see how that pans out in few days' time, because it's really a sad time now. It is not a good outlook for Nigerian football, I must say. And I totally agree with you. And I hope that things get set into place, because we can't keep having conversations like this all the time. It's distracting, But I want us to touch on something a little bit, the fact-finding committee.
Still talking about our darling Super Falcons, the team that has covered, Nigerian shame for the longest, and now they have exposed, the potholes, the loopholes, that the Football Federation has been suffering, for years. I pity the athletes, to be honest. I pity the players because they gave in their best on the field of play. It's just that, sometimes they say if you don't plan, you're already planning to fail. And that was exactly what happened to the Super Falcons at, this year's WAFCON outing.
Well, like you said, it's really sad that happened to the players, and it's been a sad time for the players. I noticed that most of the players are not even active on the social media anymore. Most of them. Michelle Alozie deactivated her social media page after that, that game against South Africa. It's really sad, and we can see how the players are taking it in. And also, sadly, that, some people are the scapegoats, Some people are the scapegoats. We're seeing that Justin Madgo, him being asked to leave his position. But let's move away from that, because the truth is that we cannot keep having these conversations. We've had it, a lot of things have been said. Just right now, one of the NFF members, the board members, has announced that the NFF did not, the FG, the federal government, did not ask the NFF bodies to step down. I'm sure you saw that news yesterday. People saw it as a consolation, asking the NFF to step down. But now they are not stepping down, and they are still in position. So let's move away from that a little bit to the under 20 Women's World Cup. Yes, Nigeria did not make it to the Women's World Cup, but the under 20 Women's World Cup is going to take place in September, and we're seeing that the Nigerian under 20 team would be performing in that. We are going to be facing Spain. Our first game is on 7th of September against
September.
Spain.
True.
Tell us what you think about that, and how do you think the NFF, let's just quickly wrap up, how do you think the NFF should use this particular tournament to rub back the hearts of Nigerians and console them, saying that the men's and the this women's senior team did not make it to the World Cup? So speak to
Well,
us
this
on
is the
that.
only tournament that the Nigerian national team will be participating in when it comes to FIFA events. Our boys failed to qualify for the under 20, under 17, our senior boys and our senior girls. Or the under 20 girls is the only tournament that we have as a consolation prize at this point. And I think the NFF, if there's nothing they have been doing before, this is the right time to say, you know what, let us give in these girls every support that they will be needing. I think by now, we should be hearing, the preparation of these athletes already in camp somewhere where they can sharpen, bond properly before they get on the field of play. Because if we leave it too late, we might still maybe not even qualify out of the group stages. So this is a consolation, tournament for all Nigerians. This is the only tournament we are looking forward to, as a FIFA event. I'm hoping and believing that they also know how crucial and important this is for the players to get everything that they need before time. Get them their kits early enough in camp, get them settled in, and let there be consecutive games between themselves, and probably arrange a friendly for the girls. I'm looking forward to it, because at this point I'm tired of watching World Cup where our players are not participating, because as a journalist you still have to keep your
True.
eyes on other
Yes.
sports and other events happening. So for me, it gladdens my spirit that at least, even though we are crying, we will still have to open our eyes to watch and cheer the girls on. So yes, this is very important. The NFF, the National Sports Commission, need to come out at this point, support the girls. And also, one thing I need to touch on is supporters club. A lot of people don't understand how important it is for a national team to have the backing of supporters club. In football, we call them the 12th man on the pitch. When you have them in the stand singing, chanting, cheering you on, there's something that it does to you on the field of play. I think it's time for all these fractions in supporters club to keep their differences aside and ensure they come up as one body. They can travel to Poland to support these girls and fly our flag there. It's very beautiful when you look at the stands and you see your national flag. You see people painting their faces in Nigerian colors, and it's beautiful. So I think
True.
that is also one support that the NFF collaboration with the National Sports Commission can put in place for this tournament for the girls in Poland.
Well said from you. I really appreciate that you touched on that, and I hope that maybe somebody from the NFF is watching this, and this should sound as a message to them, saying that the Nigerian team, the men's team, did not make it to the Men's World Cup. The women's team did not make it to the Women's World Cup. They are not making it to Brazil next year, 2027. This
Yeah.
under 20 Women's World Cup should be an avenue to show Nigerians that we are still up there. We are still that top team, and hopefully that we get to hear from the NFF if they can at least use this under 20 Women's World Cup to give Nigerians something to be happy about this time around, because it's really
True.
been sad. But like I said, thank you for joining us on the show. It's been amazing talking to you on these ongoing conversations. And Joy, hopefully I expect to have you on the show again, as the conversations keep, developing, and we see how things turn out for Nigeria, the national team, the under 20, and other conversations around sports. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me, and do enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Do have a wonderful day, Joy. All right. We had just had Joy on the show. It's been amazing having conversations we have on the developing stories in sports, especially the Nigerian football. And like she said, it's really sad. It's a sad time in Nigerian football, seeing the conversations, the Super Falcons coach being asked to step down. And right now, the EFCC, like I mentioned during my conversations with Joy, are currently probing the 12 billion naira given to the NFF for players' welfare, for the national team's obligations. Well, the moving forward from that, the Under 20 Women's World Cup will kick off in September, and the Nigeria's Under 20 women would be performing in that tournament. They will be participating, and they are grouped in. They are in the Group F. The Group F has China, New Caledonia. It has Nigeria, of course, and Spain. Yes, the first game is against Spain on the 7th of September, 5 p.m. Thereabout. That is when that game would kick off. But we hope to see how that turns out and see if the NFF would, put in support for this particular tournament and make sure Nigerians have something to talk about with the men's team and the women's national team, the women's senior team not making it to the World Cup next year, which has brought about these conversations. And yes, that is where we ended today. That is much we can take on Sports Scope today. Thank you for staying with us. It has been a pleasure bringing you the latest updates in sports, and of course, when we hear more on the developing stories, and in more shows would have more updates around other sports aside from international football. I am Amarachi Odinaka for our live news. Have a wonderful day.